Probably the best example of Justin Trudeau using a term that means the exact opposite of what his policy is all about is his drug policy. You see, if Justin Trudeau were to have run in the last election promising to make hard drugs like crack, meth, and heroin legal to use in public spaces like bus stops and hospitals, most Canadians would have absolutely rejected it. So he didn't say that's what he was going to do. Instead, he started talking about quote-unquote safe supply. Now, what safe supply actually means is taxpayer-funded hard drugs being given away, maintaining people on their addictions. In British Columbia, he partnered with the province and decriminalized the use of hard drugs in public places. What does that mean? It means it was now legal to consume these dangerous drugs like meth, heroin, and crack in public places around other people. Justin Trudeau uses this kind of language because he wants you to believe that this policy will lead to fewer overdose deaths, less drugs being consumed in our society. In reality, the exact opposite has happened. Even so far as nurses working in hospitals where these dangerous drugs are being consumed in the waiting rooms and ER wards are being advised not to breastfeed their babies. And police forces reporting that they're finding government paid for narcotics being found when they seize massive supplies of drugs when they bust up some of these drug dealers.
London police are speaking out about the diversion of drugs happening in this community.
Diverted safe supply is being resold into our community. It's being trafficked into other communities, and it is being used as currency in exchange for fentanyl, fueling the drug trade.
Police revealed data today that indicated the number of safe supply prescription tablets seized has significantly increased in the last 5 years.
If Justin Trudeau stood in front of a podium and was actually honest with Canadians and said that he was going to make it legal for drug users to consume their dangerous drugs in front of children, in the presence of nurses and other vulnerable Canadians, if he told Canadians that he was going to use your tax dollars to give away powerful opioids, you might not support it. So he dresses it up with all this fancy language to hide the true nature of what he's doing. There is nothing safe about heroin, crack, and meth. There is nothing safe about Justin Trudeau's drug policies.
Working with a jurisdiction that wanted to do it was priority for us. And of course, we've already heard cities like Toronto and Edmonton interested in taking this on as well.
Period. Why do they do this? Why does it seem like every big government political party across the globe uses these tactics so much? Well, Justin Trudeau might be particularly good at it. It's nothing new. It's what big government anti-freedom political parties use as a tactic the whole world over throughout history, primarily by communist countries who deliberately lie about their policy or their project or a new restriction on someone's freedom. For example, the Berlin Wall. We all know it as the wall that prevented people suffering under communism from escaping into the wonderful society of free market capitalism and democracy in West Berlin. But that's not what the communists called it. They told the people of East Berlin that this was a wall that would protect them. This was called the anti-fascist wall. It was sold to the people of East Berlin as a way to prevent an enemy from coming inside the walls. The term they applied for it was the exact opposite of what it actually was. It was sold to the people of East Berlin as a way to keep enemies out, when in reality, it kept the people in. Or we could look at the Great Leap Forward. There's nothing great about it. It was a horrific experience that the government imposed on the people that led to tens of millions of people literally starving to death. A greater number than the total dead in world wars. This is a classic tactic of the left to change the nature of the terminology so it sounds less negative and more positive. But it is completely dishonest. You will hear this from practically every Marxist-inspired big government promoter politician in any country around the world. It goes a little something like this. We're just asking some people to pay a little bit more.
While we're asking the wealthiest Canadians to pay a little bit more.
We could ask
every Canadian to pay their fair share.
And we just saw this recently in Canada, where Justin Trudeau claimed that only the wealthy would be asked to pay a little bit more. Now that has been completely debunked. Experts across the board have demonstrated how middle-class Canadians will be paying more under this new tax hike. The mechanic who owns his own business, the farmer, the entrepreneur will all pay more thanks to Justin Trudeau's tax hikes. But let's look at that line, asking to pay a little bit more. Are they really asking? If I ask my neighbor if I can have his lawnmower, he can always say no. But when the government sets a tax, there's no choice, because the actions of the government are all backed up by that fundamental principle, the thing that separates government from every other institution in our life, is the monopoly on force. That means that at the end of the day, whether it's a parking ticket, a tax hike, or a rule or regulation, at some point, if you don't comply, the government will send somebody with a gun and force you to do it, or put you in jail for refusing. So nobody's asking anybody. But again, there's this flowery, warm language, like we're just asking some people to pay a little bit more. This sounds so reasonable, right? Like you could imagine yourself at a family gathering and you say, we're just asking some people to chip in a little bit more for supper, or you're involved in a volunteer organization and we're asking some people to stay a little bit late to help clean up. That's not what's happening. Justin Trudeau is asking no one. He's telling you, he's forcing so many Canadians who have worked so hard to build a business, to hire some people in their community, or to put money away into savings, to fork over more of it so that he can spend it. So all of this, all these fancy terms and double speak and invented language, it all is done for a very specific reason: to confuse the people, to distract and to hide the true nature of their policies so that the people don't outright reject it. And that's why we have to stay ever vigilant with Trudeau, because he's so good at it. It's one of the few things he's actually good at.